amigos de Zoom Inferno, estamos aquí ni más ni menos que con Tilo Wolff, el líder y creador de Lacrimosa, una de las bandas más influyentes de la escena goth, por lo menos aquí en México. Ya saben, muy llamada. Hello Tilo, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Hope you too.
Yeah, very fine. And are you happy to be back in Mexico?
Definitely. I mean, we of course wanted to come on tour for such a long time again through pandemic. Of course, it wasn't possible, but we chose now Mexico to start with our tour for the new album. So Mexico is the first country in the world we are touring now again.
Your new album, Light and Shout, how the fans received it?
Well, it's so far very good because many people like the combination of the link to the old albums of Lacrimosa together with the kind of atmospheres of the previous album Testimonium. So what I heard so far, the people I even heard from some people they find it the best album of Lacrimosa ever. So that makes me happy, of course.
Yeah. And let me know, for this tour, do you have any special set prepared?
Of course. Um, we know that, of course, many people coming to Lacrimosa concerts, they want to hear certain songs because of the long history of Lacrimosa, but we don't want to do only a best of shows. So we have a set list that kind of tells a story and guides you through the history of Lacrimosa without playing too much, let's say, hits. And it's a good mixture out of songs people expect Lacrimosa to hear, but also a couple of songs that we haven't been playing for a very long time, and of course many songs from the new album.
Perhaps this question has been asked many times, but in your opinion, what's the reason for this special link between Lacrimosa and Mexico? Because you are so loved here, you are a phenomenon here.
But I think it has a bit to do with the deep emotions. I understand that Mexican people have a very big heart and they feel these emotions I try to express within my music. You know, European people not always show their feelings, they hide them, they are afraid of showing them to others. But Mexican people, they live their feelings. I have the I have the feeling, and I think that's the link. This combination of um, being honest to their own feelings and to express them, to let them out without being afraid. Many people, you know, in Germany, some people say Lacrimosa is much too whatever romantic and pathetic because they are afraid of their own feelings. But Mexicans, they don't. So they feel what I want to express within the music. And I think that's the link.
The very first time you came here to Mexico, did you imagine all this that happened with Lacrimosa in Mexico could ever happen?
No, not at all. I remember when we came the first time to Mexico, we were at the Circo Volador in Mexico City the day before the show, just for giving autographs. And I asked the guys from the agency, why did you bring us in such a big hall when we are next day probably playing in a very small club? And they were like, no, you're playing here in Circo Volador. It's sold out. And I couldn't believe it at all. And of course, I can't or couldn't imagine that we 25, 24 years later are still touring Mexico. And it's just an honor and it's so wonderful for us.
With the amount of fans you have thousands of fans here. It could be easier to think that you could fill at least one big arena, you know, like Mexico City Arena, something bigger. But instead, you prefer to do an extensive tour in Mexico in smaller places. Why?
Because of many reasons. First of all, very egoistic. I love Mexico and I want to see as much as possible. On the other hand, I know that many people they can't afford traveling to Mexico City. So it's better for us if we come to their cities than to ask them to come to Mexico City. And that's the reason why we are traveling around.
If you have to dedicate one of your songs to your fans in Mexico, what will be and why?
Well, actually, I would dedicate the entire history of Lacrimosa to Mexico because I feel so strong connected with Mexico. It's our, yeah, it's our, for example, when we come to play in Mexico City in Seco Bolado, it feels like coming home to our living room. So actually, Lacrimosa is so strong. The entire history of Lacrimosa is so strong connected to Mexico. And of course, the song Durch Nacht und Flut, where we sing this Spanish part in the end. This is, of course, our special Mexican song, but actually, it's the entire history of Lacrimosa.
3 decades of Lacrimosa, Tilo. 30 years, and it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. Uh, did you ever think you'd go that far in the beginning when you started all this?
Not at all, because actually, I didn't even wanted to start a band when I started doing music. I just thought to record one single tape to give it to the DJ at my local disco, and that he plays this music. I didn't intend to do a band that would live on. It was just like after I did this first tape, I thought, well, it was fun. I want to do another tape, and so it continued, and it went from step to step. Never had this big vision in my mind to have a band and to tour worldwide. So it's for me, it's like living in a fairy tale.
That's good. And what's the next for Lacrimosa? How much will you want to keep this band alive? Still a lot of things to say with Lacrimosa.
Well, also there, I don't have so many plans. Actually, it's as long as I have the need to write music, as long as I have the feeling, oh, I have this idea, I wanna bring it down to paper. As long this feeling will guide me, I will continue doing music. And if I one day feel like, oh, well, this is work, doing music is work, then I stop because then it's not what I dream about. Uh, I still consider, even I live from and for Lacrimosa, I still consider it as my hobby. It's something fun. And if I one day see it as work, that's the moment when I stop.
That's cool. Well, you know, some people here, and I read some comments that they don't consider them Lacrimosa like representatives of the God scene. What do you think of that? They say something like, "No, Lacrimosa, that's so many mainstream. They're not God. They're fake. They're, traitors."
It's so fucking funny because when I in the very early days when I started, um, my merchandiser told me after a concert, well, there was a girl, she wanted to buy a poster, but I didn't have those posters anymore. And I was like, why didn't you tell her to just do a picture from the show? No, she didn't want to take a picture of you because you have now those blonde hairs, and that is not gothic. And on this poster, you don't have the blonde hair. So she wanted this poster, that's goth, and you are not goth anymore. So still the very first days, since the very first days, I hear all that. And to be honest, I don't care so much because of course, I come from the Gothic scene and I'm inspired by the Gothic scene. I wear black my whole life, but I don't need to be labeled Gothic. If people think Lacrimosa is Gothic, cool, because that suits. If people think, no, it's not Gothic, I can say, yeah, actually, you're right, because we are not a traditional Gothic rock band. So we have our own style, kind of. So label Lacrimosa as you want. I know who I am.
Well, Lacrimosa songs are full of apologies for themes such as sadness and death and despair. Some things like that we have a lot in the world these days. Do you already have material for a new album?
No, no, actually not. I was so busy since the last album came out with, for example, also the yearbook, the special version of the album Leidenschaft, which is coming out in a couple of days, where we re-recorded many songs, even one new song, which is from today on at Spotify and on all the streamings, completely new song. So I was very busy and now doing the tour. After that, we want to play also some other concerts in Europe. And then I will see how the story of Lacrimosa will continue. As I said, I don't make so many plans. It's more, it's not the head, it's always the heart.
Well, tell me, after so many times you came here in Mexico, I can't even count them. Do you speak Spanish? Do you already understand some Spanish?
I'm so sorry, but I'm so bad in languages. I speak German and I speak a bit English. That's all. I'm so bad in languages. I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I
You
couldn't.
should. How you asked for tacos here in Mexico?
Well, I mostly there's some Mexicans with me, and they ask for me.
You should learn this. Dame cuatro con todo.
Dame cuatro con todo. Well, I can order one thing. Per favore, un acqua minerale sin hielo.
Sí, pero el agua mineral, the mineral water is not so good. Tacos are better.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, Tilo, thank you so much. We are very, very, very excited to see you here again in Mexico in some weeks, in a couple of weeks. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. All the best.
All the best. Take care.